as a teacher, um, a university professor. I taught early literacy for nearly 20 years at a university in Indiana. I taught early literacy, secondary literacy, and I taught in the master's program on leadership because I think leadership, cognition, and leadership, cognition, and literacy goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that's, and then I traveled to the Middle East in 2009 until 2016. I worked for the ministries of Dubai, Oman, and Qatar. And I worked at Qatar University for 2 years. I worked in a special program for Shake a Hand, where I was able to design a literacy numeracy program for 25 schools. I trained literacy coaches from all over the Middle East, from Egypt to India, all over. And we made significant progress in those 25 schools. I came back and took a low performing school for a superintendent that I knew, and I was a consultant for 4. And by the end of the year, my school, which had been an F school, became a B school in 1 year. Then I moved back to the US and started writing my new book, Who Says I Can't? And it came out a few months ago. It's people are reading it all over the world. And the second chapter talks about it starts here with cognition. So my plan is to do an online course with this book because it can totally change the mindsets of teachers, because that's where cognition starts, in the minds of the teachers and principals. I just finished doing a presentation, two-day workshop for a school here. I live outside of Dallas, and I trained the principal. She said no one had ever touched that part of her brain. And then the second day, I worked with her administrative staff, and they said the same thing. And so I'm looking for more schools to go in, because I go in as a trainer to train minds so that students' minds can be changed, especially with marginalized children. So I've been
Yes.
for 30 plus years, and I'm not tired yet.
Hmm.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful.
Kind of job that you do, you shouldn't be tired. You should be more energetic with each success that you get.
And it happens. I have girlfriends who are retired, and they said, "You're not retiring." They used to ask me that. They don't ask me that anymore. So I thought, when I came here and started writing, my editor was from Harvard, and so she was amazing. We had 3 groups who looked at this book to make sure that we were on the right field. So we've had some of the best professionals and researchers in the world to look at the book. But I just don't think that retirement is ever needed when you are in a calling.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Agreed.
What this is all about.
Well, that's great.
So, Sadaf, please let me know when we are ready to officially begin.
There are 12 participants. I have just sent a message as a reminder for everybody to join. I think we can just wait for another 2 minutes and then we can start, all right?
You guys,
All those who are here, if you would like to speak to our guest, please, informally. I have also noted all the questions down. The guest is familiar with it. I will ask the question before, she would answer those. But if you still have any questions later in mind, you can either put them in the chat box, or we can discuss it. We have in 1 hour, but if you would like to have another session for future, we can definitely go for that also. So because this is an introductory session, I want all of you to just keep with the basics, and make sure whatever madam is sharing us with her absolute knowledge and all the information that she thinks is very necessary for the first session, you can go in your classrooms and implement that. And definitely, probably in the summer vacations, we'll plan more workshops with her with detailed activities. All right. So we have people coming in.
Yes.
How is the weather there, Gwen?
it has been storming. Like I said, I'm in a suburb called Bedford, which is outside of Dallas, Texas. And so it's been really storming, raining really hard, lightning, but that's a part of being in Texas.
Usually,
Yes.
is it that rainy usually in the summers?
Yes, yes. Summers and it's kind of hot. I thought it was really hot in Texas until I moved to the Middle East and I was in the desert
Oh,
and realized that there was a big difference between the two. But you know
yeah.
what? I love both of them. I love Texas, but I also loved Indiana because I like the snow. And so that was really good. And, you know, being around university students too, you know, you're just kind of young and move through all of it. But yeah, Texas is kind of different, but you know, you move through it. My
Mm.
daughter tells me all the time, it's my daughter who is bossing me now. So she thinks
I
until she
I
finds
saw
out,
your picture. I saw your picture with her, on Mother's.
yes,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
a lovely photograph. Yes, I saw it. And I read a couple of your articles as well, and I would like to mention them here also, that I want those teachers
okay,
to go over those articles, because everybody has a different approach, a different
yes,
issue, and you cannot just capsule everything in one session.
yes,
One has to be vigilant enough to approach and find ways, and look for people who can support them and help them. So the purpose we have here is that let's learn together, let's grow together, and
yes,
especially with this challenging era of artificial intelligence, people need
yes,
to be more smarter than the machines to stay ahead. Otherwise, the machines are going to take us over in the
exactly.
next couple of weeks. And I think we are the ones who have experienced the life without technology,
Yes,
transitioning from technology to AI. We have seen all the pros and cons, and we've been through all those challenging, mind-boggling situations where we were. I'm still learning. I'm still.
yes,
There's so many things. The invitation I sent you, I just learned it in like probably in half an hour, and I just made it. But the thing is, our children are going to start their life with these things in their hands. They need
yes,
to have this in a
exactly.
completely different structure. The
Yes,
cognitive abilities are going to completely change. If we all know Bloom's taxonomy, right? So the highest
yes,
level is creation, creativity. But now, being with the AI environment, creativity is your level one. Step
yes,
one. So
yes.
that is why I wanted all this session. I wanted people to join us and ask these questions and see what we have to share. I think we have 18,
13,
18,
13? Okay.
18 people.
13.
Misha,
Yeah.
we have Misha here. I think she wants to speak. She wants to say
Hmm.
something. Misha? In-
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Gwen. I just wanted
Hi,
to say,
Michelle.
as someone who's studying MPhil in leadership and management, education leadership and management, I was just curious to know if you could conduct maybe more sessions in summer on leadership. Like, I'm really interested to know what your take on leadership is and how we can bring this change in, like, in a country like Pakistan, where there's so much struggle in literacy and even as in leadership. So what would your thoughts be on that? So if we could like have a discussion on that maybe in another session.
Oh,
So
Yes.
what would
I would love to have a session on leadership because I think when I was in Qatar, I worked, like I said, with the ministry. I worked with 25 low performing schools, and it wasn't the leader that I talked to. The leader was more of the monitor
Mm.
of the school. I went to the curriculum director to get the data, to get all the things that I needed to know about the school, the students, the teachers, all of that. I saw the principal maybe once or twice during the times that I
Sure.
moved into that school. And so I think that the principal should be trained as an instructional leader so
Mm.
that they can actually not be a gatekeeper of the school, but totally guide the school in all areas, not just the curriculum, but also in the culture of the school, and
Yes.
not a person who is holding the data. The principal should hold the data. And that's why in my last school, I spent 3 hours training the leader
Mm.
because she
Right.
had not been trained as an instructional leader. So I would love to talk more about leaders because they're the ones that I'm focusing in on. Because if we have
Yeah.
all these low performing schools with children who only 1/3 are reading at grade level proficiency, there's
Yeah.
something wrong with the leadership.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's why I'm
Exactly.
going to stop right there.
Yes. Farah, please
I
make a
that's
note. For the
Huh.
next, I will make a note that, okay?
For my next venture, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We have
Because
a,
I think leadership
we
is
have
one
a,
area we're
yes,
lacking in a lot in our schools.
yes, we have. Thank you so much.
Right.
I think we have 18 participants, so we
Yes,
should
I
try
think
to solve, yes.
yes, let's kickstart the session. On behalf of staff from Lahore, I am delighted to welcome you all to this interactive and live session. And we're thrilled to have such a passionate and dedicated group of educators, coaches, and leaders with us today. Your presence here shows your commitment to continuous learning and literacy excellence. Today's session promises to be insightful, engaging, and empowering as we explore strategies to close learning gaps and move towards literacy proficiency. We encourage you to participate actively. You can ask questions and you can share your valuable thoughts after the session is over. And at the end of the session, I will be sharing with you Dr. Gwen's LinkedIn profile, and you all are requested to go join it. I am sure that by the end of the session, you will be intrigued and you will rush to join it without my telling you, and you will all be coming in to ask me to share her LinkedIn profile with you. And we will share that with you, and you can follow and you can go read. She has written some wonderful articles about literacy proficiency. So let's meet today's moderator first. She's Miss Sadaf Rabbani. She is a PhD scholar in early childhood education and teacher training. She comes with a 20 plus years of experience in teaching, training, and in curriculum development. She currently is the Director, School Development, Master Trainer, and ECCE author at Cantab Publishers. She has recorded 2000 plus ECCE video lectures, and they're all available on YouTube. You can get access to that by requesting her or me later. So she has represented the education sector on TV, on radio, and on social media. She's very passionate about transforming education from the grassroots. And now let's move on to the introduction of our special guest who has so kindly agreed to join us all the way from USA tonight, our tonight and her today. Meet Dr. Gwendolyn, a passionate literacy trainer, award-winning author, and curriculum director dedicated to transforming education with a proven record in training coaches, teachers, leaders, and she specializes in helping educators move towards literacy proficiency by closing learning gaps. As the author of the book, Who Says I Can't, Dr. Gwen brings deep insight and practical strategies to empower educators and elevate student success. So over to you, Ms. Sadaf, so you can start the session by officially asking the questions that our audience wants to know about.
Yes, thank you, Farah. Thank you very much. I would like the participants to, be able to, if they can open up the cameras, if they're comfortable, let the guest have a look at you. And it's more interactive when we see faces around. It's a Zoom meeting. So if you're comfortable, you can turn on your cameras. That's absolutely okay with us. We would appreciate that. Dr. Gwen, some of the participants have joined us a little while we were having a conversation. I would formally like to ask you, how do you feel about joining this session?
How do I feel about joining this session?
Yes.
I am so excited. I've been waiting for this moment. I've spent 30 plus years as a researcher, as a teacher, as a curriculum person. And so I decided that I needed to write about those experiences and write with power and write with truth. And so when you came aboard to ask me to come aboard, I just automatically said yes. Because of your passion, I knew that we could mesh together to make an impact, and also your associates, and to have an impact on the students that you are held accountable for. So I'm happy to be here.
Okay, I'm also happy that people are joining us, and it's quite late here. It's almost 10:15. But anyways,
Okay.
passion sees no time, and passion sees no hour and no weather. Even in the rain weather, you can work. Okay, so let's start with the questions formally. Most of the questions here that I have are provided to me by the participants. I have written them in a way that we can go in an order, starting from the basic of cognition and reading. My first question here was sent by a participant as well. It says, what is cognition and how does it relate to reading development in young learners, especially keeping that in mind that we have students here in Pakistan which speak Urdu, Punjabi, and English is their second or third language. So what is your take about it?
Okay. That's a good question. What is cognition and how does it relate to reading development in young learners? Cognition refers to the mental processes that help us acquire knowledge and understanding. So this includes attention, memory, reasoning, perception, and problem solving. In reading, cognition is not an option. I've been in classrooms where teachers feel that it's rote and memorization. But when it's time for students to decode, they have a problem. When it's time for them to comprehend, they have a problem. So it is not optional. It is the engine behind comprehension. So just think about a truck. My father had a truck. And so I could drive that truck and change the gears, but I couldn't do it before he explained all of the components of that truck. And the first time I drove out of our driveway, I was like this. He said, stop, stop. And then he labeled, this is amazing back in the day. My father labeled all of the things that I needed to do. This is the clutch. I knew the steering wheel. I knew where to put the key, but all the other elements, I had no idea. So he had to get my attention. And from that, he gave me a rationale for why it was important to do all those things. And he tapped into my perception of it. And then I had some questions that I had. So we did problem solving before we actually went out in that truck again. But I can tell you this. When the day was over, when the evening, I should say, evening was over, I could actually drive that truck. And he let me drive it to the high school. I couldn't believe it. So without cognitive development, phonics becomes mechanical and comprehension remains shallow for so many kids. And so in the United States, we look at our marginalized children. 88% of them are not reading at grade level proficiency. And then we talk about growth and we'll say, oh, we did really well. 81% of our kids made growth. But then when we look at the data, we have 80-something% of the kids who are still 2 to 3 grade levels below. So what is growth doing? So that tells me that there are some cognitive functions within the strategies that they're teaching that has not been taught or for them to actually have access to. Here's another example. A child might sound out, the dog ran. But unless they connect that to the idea of a running dog and then attach prior experiences, so I need to say, oh, okay, so there's a running dog. I remember when our dog ran away and so we did this, so we talk about that. And then mentally visualize the sentence, put it in your head. When kids do this to me, I'll say, okay, so I want you to mentally visualize it. And they do this. So what are you looking at down there? I want you to put it inside your head. I want you to close your eyes and I'm going to say each word and then I want you to visualize the picture. Let me put my glasses back on so I can read. The dog ran. Do you see the dog? And when they do this, I know they're right with me. Do you see the dog? What is the dog doing? Running. How is the dog running? He's running really fast. So what have I done? I've connected to the idea of a running dog and I attached it to their prior experiences. Have you ever had that happen to you? So therefore, I'm mediating for them, not scaffolding. Scaffolding means that you're coming to an outcome. Mediation means that I'm inside their head, changing them, transforming them. Have you ever had that happen? They were merely decoding, not reading, when I started asking questions. I remember, I have to tell you another one, and this will be the last one for the answer to this question. I remember as a principal, I had a teacher, and I went into her classroom to observe. And the teacher was talking about a story, a dog story. And she was just talking about this dog story. She was talking, and she put sentences on the board. She put words up for them to decode. And then I looked around the room. The kids were all over the place. She did not have their attention at all. At the end of the day, she came in for her evaluation, for feedback and reflection. And so I said, Miss Jones, or her last name was Miss Caldwell. I said, Miss Caldwell, I said, did you ever have a dog? And she stopped and she looked at me and she looked at her rubric. There was nothing on the rubric that showed her I was talking about that. She says, yeah. She said, yes. And I said, well, tell me about your dog. Do you have any pictures? And she looked at me again like, oh, this is off. And she goes, yeah. So she looks in her purse and she pulls out all these pictures. I said, tell me about this dog. All of a sudden, she started crying. And then I asked her another question, a deeper question. Okay. You said your dog is no longer alive. Did you have a funeral for your dog? Oh my gosh, more tears came. I said, now in that classroom, did you ask your kids to think about? Did you ask, I want you to think about experiences did you start the lesson off with the thinking question? She said, no. I said, do you see why they were up? I said, 10 kids left your room in 30 minutes, back and forth, back and forth. And then she just started crying. She said, Dr. Levert, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. She said, can you come back tomorrow? I went back the next day. It was a totally different classroom. She had pictures of her dog up, that visual part. She had questions that she asked the kids dealing with there. And the tension was right there with all of her kids. So what does cognition do? It's that mental processing that requires acknowledgement and understanding from our kids.
Oh, that was a very comprehensive answer. And I think so. I hope the teachers who are listening, they're taking their notes, they're putting down bullets in their notebooks or in their diaries or whatever. Please make sure that you are, listening carefully and making sure that whenever you walk into the classroom, either tomorrow morning or whenever next time it is, there is a change. You have these tips with you. These are very, very important tips, and they're coming from an expert. So my next question, ma'am, from you is, how do cognitive processes like attention, memory, and problem solving impact reading comprehension? Because children here in Pakistan are not that much focused on solving problems. They are taken as a kid until they are 20 years of age. So how early can these approaches be adopted through the help of reading in the classrooms for these teachers?
Well, that's a good question. But before I answer that question, I must tell you from birth, our brains have been already wired for oral language. So kids are born ready to repeat whatever their parents are saying. It's the cognitive part that has to be built. So the functions are foundational. Attention, memory, problem solving, they impact not only decoding, but also reading comprehension. Attention allows the child to focus long enough to follow a storyline. Working memory holds on to words from the beginning of a sentence while processing the end. And then problem solving helps when a sentence doesn't make sense. Students must infer, they must ask questions, and they must adjust the meaning. Let me give you an example. A second grade reader the teacher, the student, the girl, I'll say the girl, climbed the steep hill with her dog, we must use what? Our working memory to hold, climbed, while processing steep hill, and then problem solve if they're unfamiliar with steep. Does that make sense? I'm going to say it again. A second grader reading, the girl climbed the steep hill with her dog. This girl, second grader, must use working memory to hold climbed while processing steep hill, and then problem solve if they're unfamiliar with steep.
Yes.
And depending on where this child is coming from, they may not use that language because many children come from homes with informal language.
Yes.
And so when they come in with informal language, our schools are built upon academic language. And so there is not an interplay with that. I call it interplay. There's nothing there for them to grasp. So students without these developed functions often reread without clarity. So they can reread it over and over and over and over until the teacher stops and mediates that. Then they'll never know what is happening in that sentence. My grandson would say, Gigi, I don't quite understand. Could you repeat that again? Now, that's because he's been working with me and I've mediated his learning. So that's why he would say that. So we must be able to help our students rewire the brain. And this is a part of rewiring the brain.
So how often shall teachers repeat a certain piece of information on a journal basis that it becomes, a common thing that the children should understand, and when they are not grabbing anything, especially if there's a new word or a vocabulary which they are unfamiliar with, how often do you think the teacher should stop and make them repeat it so that it becomes in the part of the system?
Okay. I believe, and my experience has shown, working with marginalized children in high poverty communities and low performing schools, that cognition and literacy goes hand in hand. So whenever you start a lesson, you have to figure out those cognitive functions that are needed for children. And so as you are asking questions through the mediation, you are bringing in cognitive functions and you are describing what they are. So the kids will be able to grasp it the next time. So if I have 25 kids in my classroom, and 3/4 of them are not able to use the cognitive, I've never heard of cognitive functions, then I have to start differentiating the classroom. I can't have whole classes anymore. So I will have what I call portfolios, so that other kids are doing other things. And I call it the college for knowledge table, where I'm building. And this is what I taught my teachers to do. This is what I train principals to do. The college for knowledge table is for those kids who are not getting it. So I may go to tier 2 and tier 3. And tier 3 is where I really like to be sometimes. Sometimes kids just need one-on-one. And I do it every single day. This process is done every single day with cognition riding right beside literacy. It has to. You can't, it's just natural. If I pick a strategy, then I must look at the cognitive functions that are not working. I always give my students, and I didn't give it to you because we haven't talked about this, but this is my cognitive function and dysfunctional rating scale. And I have one for every child, and every teacher has one. So we look at the cognitive functions: clear perception, systematic exploration, well-developed, undeveloped, temporal concepts. And then I have a rating. And then on the opposite side, I'll have cognitive dysfunctions. So as I'm teaching, I'm also checking off the kids, what the kids need. Blurred and sweeping perception. So they don't have a clear perception of that. So I'm just not teaching. I have to know my lesson really well because I have to observe the cognitive functions that are not working. So that when I group my kids in a differentiated setting, then I can start calling kids back. Everybody in the school must be trained in cognition, the principal, all of the academic staff, all the teachers, all the aides. I even have the the janitor, because the janitor has relationships with kids.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, they have relationships with kids. And so anyone who comes into the school needs to understand the strategic plan. And that is to build thinking for all of our kids. Anybody who works with kids need to know that that is our focus.
That is an excellent point, and I'll connect this point with my next question that I have here. What role does the prior knowledge play in reading comprehension, and how can teachers leverage this? Children who are coming from grade 1 to grade 2, there is a lot of gap sometimes because of the same thing, the cognition level, and teachers usually are not very much aware of this importance. So I want you to emphasize that every child is going to be on a different level because of the different cognitive abilities. So please reflect on that.
Okay. Prior knowledge is the mental scaffold for new learning. Now, it means you're coming to an end. So that's why I put scaffolding. Vygotsky talked about scaffolding.
Yes.
And Vygotsky talks away. So I have a lesson plan that I give teachers and say, okay, so this is your scaffolding, but it's not just scaffolding. It is mediated learning. And mediated learning is where this is what Feuerstein did. He took the work of Vygotsky and he named it mediated learning. And he said there are 4 universal priorities that fall under mediated: intentionality and reciprocity. You're very intentional about what you're doing. So when you're scaffolding mentally, you're mediating. It's very intentional. You're using reciprocity. You're using meaning. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? And transcendence. So when they leave, they must be able to transcend all of these ideas, not just in reading, but in science, in math, in PE, in choir, art, wherever they go, they need to use it. So I'll go back that prior knowledge is the mental scaffold for new learning. It allows our readers to attach meaning to new words and make inferences, reading between the lines. So the teachers can leverage this by front-loading vocabulary with visuals and connections to students' experiences. So we're talking about having relationships with kids and why kids are disobedient, that we're sending kids home. If you make this connection through scaffolding and mediation, kids are not going anywhere. So you're going to front load it with vocabulary, because one of the things we found out when in the schools that I've been in is that sometimes on state tests, they are not giving words that kids are familiar with. And again, if kids are coming from informal houses which use informal language, the language that's in most of our books would be academic, so they're not going to be able to grasp it. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah, so they can't get it. So I'm going to put my vocabulary wall up there with visuals and connections to the students' experiences. So by the time they leave the lesson, they will have an understanding and start using those words. I find that kids that I work with, when I start using words, so they'll say, "Oh, I've never used." One parent said, "You know, since my child has been in your classroom, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to start communicating with them." And I said, "Why?" Because they say words that I'm not even familiar with. One day, I have to tell you this, as a classroom teacher, the principal came down to my room and he said, "Dr. Levert," he said, "I have to tell you this." He said, "I don't know what I'm going to do." And so, "What is it, Mr. Goff?" And he said, you know, I've got you as a first grade teacher, and I've got two others, so I've got three. He said, but all of the parents want their kids in your classroom. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do with these other two teachers. And I just fell out laughing, and he walked away, and he said, I said, well, you know what? You'll figure that out. So when you're front loading vocabulary with visuals and you're connecting it to, some teachers just put the vocabulary words up there. These are the words that come from the story and da 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 da. But you've got to be intentional. Activating background knowledge with prompts like, have you ever seen before reading? Have you ever seen? What do you think? This, I want you to put your thinking caps on. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. I've got to run in here just for a second. Hold it.
Sure. Take your time, no worries. I hope everything is okay. Participants, kindly nod your head. Is it going okay? Are you getting something out of it? Oh, hello.
Hi. So all of my kids put on their thinking caps because it said, okay, we got a front load. That's what I do. I'm play acting, guys. I'm not leaving.
Oh, okay. I thought there's something else.
This is my thinking hat. So everybody comes up and they put on their thinking caps. And this is just, you can go to the, I don't know if you have the dollar store there,
Yes,
or
we have it.
you can just get a band and then put bunny ears on it. I said, okay, put your bunny ears on. You got to put your thinking caps on because we're front loading. Did I scare you guys? Did you think I was ready to leave?
No, I thought maybe there was something in the oven and you forgot to take it out. I thought you were making some muffins.
Thinking
But this was fun.
like this so the kids can see I've got my little bunny ears on. So that's something. If you're teaching a pre-K class, you
Yes.
need to have these bunny ears on because you're telling them that we're front loading the vocabulary with visuals and connections to students' experiences. So you got to have your bunny ears or your big ears on
Of course.
so that you can hear. Activating background information with prompts like, have you ever seen it? What do you think is going to happen? Why is that going to happen? So before reading a text about farming, a teacher might show a photo of a garden and ask, what grows in your neighborhood? And many of them will say, I don't know, because they haven't seen it. I asked my son one time, I said, Lance, so when your dad takes you to school, what do you see on the way? Now I know what he said nothing. Nothing. I mean, you're just sitting there. I noticed that you're not looking down, you're looking up. I said, listen, when he picks you up tomorrow, when he takes you to school tomorrow, when you come home, I need you to tell me from the stop sign to this. Kids don't think about it because their brains have not been wired for this.
Yes.
The next day, his dad took him to school. And when he came back home, I said, okay, first thing I want you to do, I want you to draw me a picture. And I want you to label everything that has happened. In the classroom, I said, okay, it's time for the bell. You guys, let's line up at the door. They all went to the cafeteria. When they finished eating, I brought them back. And so I said, okay, now I want you to draw a picture of everything that happened that you saw from the classroom to the cafeteria. And even interviewing teachers, it was so hard for us because I am a founder of a charter school and a high-performing charter school, and it was hard for us to find competent teachers. They could come in and I'll say, well, tell me, I asked these questions like we're doing now, and they would have all these things to say. And then we get them in and they knew nothing about reading. They knew it, but they couldn't do it. So then I came up with this idea. I said, you know what? I said, I want you to draw a picture of what your classroom would look like. And then I want you to tell me about it. What's happening in that classroom? That was a game changer.
Must be.
Because they could not talk about nor express themselves about what happened. I said, I noticed that you have a table right here. What's happening at that table? I mean, I would say that's my college for knowledge table. This is where I've already looked at my data and I know the areas that they need to be working on. In my folder, I have their data. I have the cognitive and then the strategies that they did not pass on the I-Ready test, which is the state test. They didn't pass the I-Ready test. So I extracted all of the strategies. And then in those strategies, I pulled out the cognitive functions that went with them. Because in order to do main idea, they had to be able to compare, contrast. They had to do this, all the cognitive functions. So I used my chart and pulled out all the cognitive functions. So that's what I taught them. So they learned how to administer main idea in the test. So the question was, what was the main idea of the story? Okay, so you know what main idea is. Now you know the cognitive structures that go with it. Now you can find the right answer.
Exactly.
I'm closing gaps.
Yes.
But those teachers could not do that. So that's the answer to that question.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to make a point here. Usually our teachers are always complaining that children are not paying attention, especially when it's time for reading. So the example you just gave is perfect to let them understand that children are not focused because their prefrontal cortex is not designed that way and it is not trained that way. Once we tell them to put your hands on the table, bring your eyes in the front, open your ears, listen to me, because we need to make them feel grounded in the situation. And because children have all their 5 senses so active and the brain is so fast in grabbing information, they tend to get distracted very easily. So once we disengage the other 4 senses, and we just ask them, put all your attention here to the ears, and then the cognitive ability, and whatever we say, our lip movement, our sounds, our facial muscles, the sound we make from the throat, whatever we are teaching them for in terms of phonics. By the way, phonics is a very later stage when we are, teaching them. So the problem here is that here, I mean, generally, I don't know about the schools in Qatar and Dubai, but here teachers are mostly focused because on phonics, and there's so many techniques here, and the one which are mostly highlighted and are spoken about, and teachers are just running after certificates and trainings are jolly phonics. I just want to know, and I want to actually burst this bubble with your experience, that is one technique necessary, or is it the basic understanding of how things work? And then the teacher can connect those with any technique she finds is more fun and adaptable for the classroom. Would you answer that?
I agree totally with you. When you understand the pedagogy and methodology of reading, and even the pedagogy and methodology of cognition, there's no need. You understand, so you can give really good examples for kids. One thing I have found that when you talk about attention, and the kids are just sitting up there not exposed, then the next question would be, because if you understand the different parts of the brain, then you need to give some practical examples, because kids will not understand the cortex and all this, but they know the amygdala, because
Yes.
we talk about the amygdala, that if the amygdala jumps out and I'm up here, then I know that I'm the amygdala saying, I don't want to hear that. What are you talking about? So that means if I understand pedagogy and methodology of reading, then I know I need to give something that kids can activate their background knowledge and figure out what is it. Have you ever seen this? Because if I have kids and I'm talking about something and I can monitor my kids, I have my cognitive map here. And so I'm putting down, not what did I say? Clarity, clear perception. So that means they're blurred and sweeping perception. It's blurred because they have not had any background knowledge. I said, okay, so what percent? I want you to think. How many of you have dogs in your house? Because that's what we're talking about. How many of you have dogs? Well, I may have 5 kids. The rest of them do not have dogs. So there goes my attention out the window. Doesn't make any difference about how the brain is. The brain is not doing anything. It's shut off. I can't rewire that. I
Okay.
haven't rewired that.
Okay, let's keep that thought. Let's keep
Okay.
it for a while, because I think, as I've shared the questions with you already, there's a lot more that we can, talk about and discuss with
Okay.
the example. I think it's 10:45 here almost. I would like to just put a point in the front, and then I would like teachers to, if they would like to speak to you. There are some questions in the chat box also. I would like you to just go over them as well. From my side, the last question would be, I think the teachers have grabbed the concept that it is very, very important to work with the cognitive abilities of the children first before jumping into higher level thinking skills and activities. What 2 or 3 basic activities or strategies can you share with the teachers that they can, start right away in putting it in their lesson plans? And how important is a lesson plan when they are planning these activities for children with different cognition level, as you just mentioned earlier?
Let me say this also. I have all the questions that you gave me, and I have answers with examples. So I can send it to you, and you can send it to the teachers if you think they want that. Okay?
Okay. That would be great.
I put that what every teacher must start doing now. This is urgent now.
Yes.
Number 1, observe beyond behavior. Don't ask, why won't they focus? But ask, have they developed the ability to focus? Have they developed the ability to focus? So if you had a chart like my chart, you note, and so they have not developed the ability to focus. So now I teach them how to focus. Slow down and mediate. Model your own thinking out loud. Now this will come on the sheet that I'll give you. So out loud. That doesn't make sense. Let me go back. I see a pattern. Do you? So I'll put the word up on the board, Matt. I see a pattern. Do you see that pattern in that word? Oh, yeah, act. Act. What's the beginning sound? But now let's blend it. Act. Bat. Very good. All right, here's another word. Mist. I see a pattern. Do you see it? Who can come up and underline the pattern? Or you have the word on your paper. Circle the pattern. And I can go around and check really fast. I can tell you right away the kids who circled IST, because mist, cyst, bist, wrist, we can do all those things. And so if they know the 37 rhymes and the 100 high frequency words, they are reading decodable text.
Yes.
And in 4 months, our kids are reading decodable text. So another one is just a moment. Let me think. Post it on your classroom wall. Train students to pause before speaking or reacting. And then you have a think aloud chart. Use sentence stems like, I was thinking that. What confused me was, Johnny, I see your hand up. Dr. Levert, I was thinking that. And mom and the teacher, the mother said, he's always telling me, Mom, I was thinking that. Smarter than I am. Rashad. Well, this reminds me of. So every day I had made sure that the kids were using those. So those are the 3 things. Observe beyond behavior. 2, slow down and mediate. And then 3, try those 3 activities for the week. Just a moment, let me think wall, and then your think aloud chart.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. G. I would like you to call as Dr. G, because that was really fun. You told me the other day when we were having our Zoom discussion. I think this session went amazing. I learned so many things, and every time you say something, there's another question popping up in my head, and I'm, boggling between which one to ask. Shall I ask this one or shall I keep it for the next time? So thank you very much. I want the participants to, if they can raise their hands, they can say something, ask something, they would like to know more about you or anything in particular. There are three questions in the chat box. I will just read them out loud so that people can see that I've been reading them. This is Mr. Saad, or I don't know, the name is Saad. My question is, how can we improve reading skills in early ages, as nowadays phonetics are introduced? By the way, phonics and phonetics are two different things. Are introduced by the real problem we are facing, that in low-level school teachers are not properly trained. And I experience, my son can't make a word with sounds of alphabets. Okay, so I think Dr. G has given a lot of examples that the cognition should be there first, the recognition, the cognition. So whenever the teachers are planning lesson plans and there are startup activities or warm-up activities or brainstorming activities, the reason is that teachers want everything which is going back here in the head should come here in the front, like in the army. When there is a senior, he says, okay, attention. That means everybody has to put all their senses and focus towards what is going to happen now. So that was my part. I hope Dr. G will also answer this. And the next question says, how to handle or manage 40 to 50 strength in class with the period is of 40 minutes duration without assistance? How can you focus on each student grade prep to grade 3? Every student is differently capable. Another question says, importance of decoding and blending in reading process. I think these are the questions. So for the strength, kindly talk to the school management. This is not possible. 40 to 50 students. This is the decision at the school's end, but how we can help you, Dr. G will definitely share that. And what to do with O levels if they're not ready to listen in spite applying every rule? Okay, that's a wonderful question. Dr. G, would you like to answer any of these?
And so let me just talk about the last one. How do you get them to focus when they're not ready to focus? Was that the
Yes.
number one? You have to, once kids come into your classroom, you have to get to know them. You have to know something that's really familiar to all of you is that you do an entry log or checklist and send it home to parents to let you know what are some of the things that they do, what do they like to do, what is it they don't do. So you have to have built a relationship with your kids, so that because anytime I'm reading a story and I started singing a song, I start have a puppet or something, I'm going to get the attention of all of my students. So there's no way that that's going to happen. It could be the informal language that's coming from home to school. That is key. So abstract ideas, they're going to have difficulty with. But what I start off with is pre-phonics. So I have a book that I have written, and we started with phonological awareness chart level 1, which is word awareness, rhyming awareness, syllable awareness, where we're segmenting and blending. All of this is oral. All of this is oral language. So you start that and then read a story that you know. This is one that I wrote called The Music in Derek's Heart, where this guy plays a harmonica. Or Off to School, where the girl really wanted to go to school and her mother says, you need to stay at home and cook. So you know that was back in, you would be surprised at some kids who stay at home now. This one is called The Barber's Cutting Edge. And this little boy takes his vocabulary words to the barbershop. So I'm talking about things that kids are familiar with. If you are reading, start the day off with a positive quote, and you are reading a story that they are all familiar with, you're going to have their attention. If not, then you need to pull out your cognitive chart and see what is it. Why are they having blurred and sweeping perception? Because attention. So you're using your cognitive chart. This is the story that I wrote called The Shaking Bag, where this Miss Annie Mae had a visitor and he came in the form of a raven. a raven, and she was helping the neighbor's birds. All the birds came to her, but at the end she said they were young of age, of spirit. And I met a parent in the grocery store, and she said, "Are you the author who came to my child's classroom?" I said, and she told me the child's name. I said, I remembered him. And I said, yes. She said, he couldn't go to bed last night because he kept saying, "Mom, this author came to our school and she read this story. And at the end, she kept saying, young of age." Change your voice tone to get. I would always have costumes, like just a minute ago when I came out with my bunny ears. You guys were.
Yeah, we were surprised.
So I would jump out of the closet. We have to move away from traditional ways of teaching. I would jump out of the closet and I would be this character and change my voice and move them. You're going to have the attention of all kids. I could go on about that, but let's get another question.
Yeah, sure. Yes, please. Dear participants, Farah, over to you. आप questions Farah कुछ पूछना चाहो? If you have anything or anybody, please raise up your hand and whatever you would like to ask, or if you
Had
want
a very insightful session.
Oh,
very
yes.
insightful session, and it was very entertaining as well. Because we were learning, and we were learning by example of what to do and how to do it.
Thank
Exactly. It was quite interesting. Anybody here would like to speak with Doctor, and any other topic you would want her to discuss in the future coming days? Because we have summer vacations, we might have time, and we can discuss Dr. G again.
We will arrange another session with Dr. Gwen next time.
Yes.
Because
I think, yes, I think so.
yes, it's almost it's a working night and working day tomorrow. People would like to go to sleep, I think, because they have to wake up early in the morning.
Of course.
May I do my closing? I have to tell you my closing statement.
Yes, sure. Misha has a question. Misha, please.
Okay, so in my program in school improvement, we had to go to a school to bring some improvement in there. So we proposed an intervention on storytelling, and it was a very underprivileged background sort of school where we talked about literacy skill and how children at certain age don't have that certain literacy skill. So a lot of students over there were from backgrounds that they didn't have a lot of prior knowledge and things like that. So we proposed storytelling as a way of bringing literacy into their school. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts on that were, because when we proposed this idea, we wanted to contextualize the stories that we were using for their background, but we were having trouble integrating that storytelling into the school's curriculum. So what do you say about that? Like, how can we integrate storytelling into?
Oh, I think that is absolutely amazing. That's what started me writing stories, because I had kids that came from a low socioeconomic background. They had generational illiteracy. And so I started, and I used the word reciprocal teaching. Someone asked a question about reciprocal teaching, and Posner wrote that and said, in 90 days, if you read aloud a story and you have those 5 major strategies. So I had 10 minutes of reading aloud a story, and then I would stop and ask those questions. Let me tell you, 3/4 of the kids were not reading at grade level. At the end of the year, 95% of them, I spent 15 minutes reading aloud and having those discussions. And then I moved into they moved into their portfolios for independent work while I was at the College for Knowledge table. So I had some who were writing stories, some who were doing other things, but we started the day off with reading aloud. I'm telling you, that is revolutionary. I have done a whole unit, a whole year's work to show how that really works. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
And if you would
so
like,
maybe for future sessions, we could have that.
I would like to add something to this also, that storytelling is an art, and it does not have to be related to anybody or anything or their consequences, because that is what storytelling is. It's about making dreams and
Yeah,
making them dream about things that they have not seen. And a
yes.
story should be creative enough to make those children imagine what it would be like and not actually having it or having seen it.
I have to tell you another thing too. In my 90 minutes, I picked a book, and I think it was a God-given thing because I was trying to find a book that would motivate the kids. And so I went to our little library and picked up a book called Just Juice. It was about a little girl who was in third grade, but had been retained in third grade. And so we couldn't figure out what was going on. Found out that they lived in the mountains of Kentucky and lived with the grandmother, and the father couldn't keep a job because he could not read. And he said, sometimes I feel like a chained dog. And then all of a sudden, I started, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And the kids started saying, oh, my grandmother sings that song all the time. And we went through that story and asked those questions. And what?
Oh, yeah, the mic was on me. Okay.
Okay. That's it.
Yes. Anybody
someone-
else?
Thanks so nice. Thanks
Anyone
so
else
nice.
like to speak?
I think somebody's mic was accidentally on.
Yes, I've been trying to mute it, but oh yeah, it's done.
Well, here's the thing. We're
Yes, please.
for years, teach kids to, and the rest will come. That's what we've heard for years. Teach kids to decode and the rest will come. Truth is, the rest never comes if cognition never shows up. You're not just preparing students to read books, you're preparing them to read the world. And if you don't build the thinking behind the reading, you will raise a generation of performers, not thinkers. So I leave you with this: build the mind before you build the lesson. Observe the function before you deliver the strategy. And always, always start with cognition, because reading isn't just a skill, it's a mirror, a map, and a mind at work. And when we teach the brain to read, we don't just change instruction lives. So thank you guys for letting me.
Oh, thank you. That was an
Beautifully put.
amazing
Yes.
tip.
And note is the complete essence
Yes.
of today's workshop or
Yes.
this talk that we had.
Yes, this is a talk. Next time we're going to come with a lot of work for these teachers. There will be work. There will be
Oh my God.
assignments. There will be tasks for them. There will be activities for them. There will be assignments for them, because nothing comes for free, you know. Talking can keep on talking, but once teachers are going to implement these things in the classroom, they are going to have their own hands-on experience. They are going to blend it with their cognitive thinking. They are going to go back into the students' shoes and think, okay, when I was at this age, what were my struggles? So everything, you know, needs time. We need to, all of us here need to digest. There was so much information packed up in 1 hour, but we tried our best. We could. I'm thankful to Dr. Puri. That was
Like to
amazing.
have this one more time, maybe many more times later.
Sure, inshallah.
Yes.
Allah.
And for now, I have shared Dr. Gwen's LinkedIn profile with you people in the WhatsApp group. Go ahead and follow and read the articles that she has left there for us to read.
Well, now let me tell you, here's the challenge. Right now, I have 165,000 people who are reading my thing. So you have 15,000 kids. I want it to blow up. If you could, is that Damia?
No,
No, that is Farah. That is her daughter's name. She's cheating on her account with her daughter.
You can get them all to come. I want to see it in the next. I know they have to go to bed, but I'll give you tomorrow. All to join my profile, and I want to see it blow up.
Okay.
It will.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll
we'll
shine
do
on
our best. Okay. Dr.
Yes.
G, I would
Okay.
like to have a small request. I just popped up in my mind. If you could record a short video,
Okay.
probably like a reel for the
Yep.
group, and then you can share your experience of this talk, and
Okay.
it can be something, a motivational quote for the other teachers to see you, hear you, because it's a working day. People, half of us are already in bed. So
Okay.
it would be best that when in the morning they wake up and they get a message from you when they open their Facebook that, okay, Dr. G is saying that she was here last night and it was an amazing talk. So, it will give them a motivation so we can plan up next time over a weekend or something like that. Okay?
Yes, it will give them more motivation to stay up the next time we have a session.
Yes.
But also, if we decide to do this again, maybe I can do it, and I can be up at night, and they're up during the day. So I mean,
Yes.
I've done that before. So
Okay. All
That
right.
would be
Whatever
lovely. That would be lovely, and it would be able to give us more audience.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank
Okay.
you guys so much.
Thank you
Great.
very
Thank
much,
you so
Dr.
much.
G. Nice to be with you for some time.
Yes.
And inshallah, see you again. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Yes.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here, dear
Thank you so much.
participants. I
You're
hope there is
welcome.
something for everybody to take away from this session. Next time, we would like to see you in our workshops also. And if you want something specific for certain training, please mention it us in the group. And Facebook group is there. We are always here for you. You ask for it, you name it, and we will provide it to you. But it depends how much dedicated, devoted, passionate, and crazy are you to learn new things. Thank you once again, everybody. Thank you, Farah.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Misha. Thank you, Madiha, Amina, all the people that I can see and the ones I can read. It was an amazing session, and see you again soon. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Bye bye. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz, everyone. Allah Hafiz.